Hello guys, welcome to the second video of the tutorial series, and in this one we're going to look at the files and folder of the Dwarf Fortress installation, and it's going to be great. So in the last video we downloaded and unpacked the game, and you should have a folder which looks pretty much just like this. Now today we're going to look at a few things just to get to know the game a bit better, and we're going to customize it a little bit. If you want to skip ahead to the gameplay, you don't care about that, then go to the next video. Okay, the first thing which is important is the raw folder, and we're going to go to the objects. So when Dwarf Fortress creates a world, it takes all the information from all the files in this folder, and these are called the raw files. And there's everything here. You can see there's plants, languages, items, stones, metals, creatures, lots and lots of creatures. And they're all in text files, which is really good because it means that if we want to change something, we just open up the text file, change something, and the next time we generate a world, it will take all of this data and it will be different. If you want to change a world you've already generated, you have to go into the save file, because once the world has been generated, it doesn't refer to these files anymore. The files start to diverge. Anyway, here is a blue jay, and as you can see, there is a whole bunch of information just on this one bird. You've got the names, the home biomes of the blue jay, population numbers, some important properties, the body templates, what kind of body it has, what the materials of the body are, different attacks, movement, its societal structure, and that's just the blue jay. And there are, I don't know, there's hundreds of animals in the game without mods. So what Dwarf Fortress lacks in visual fidelity, it makes up for 100-fold in the detail in the model. And it's this detail which gives the game its unique story generating nature. It's every game you play is so different, and the detail which emerges really adds to the flavor of the game, and it's so important. So if you are interested in changing the world or modding the world a little bit, then what you should do is you should go to the Dwarf Fortress wiki page and check out the modding guide there. So let's check out the wiki now. Okay, so from Google you want to search for Dwarf Fortress wiki, and here is the wiki, and we want to get the modding guide. So, modding. Okay, and unfortunately it's taken us by default to an old version, so we'll just click on version 0.4, which will take us to the latest version. Okay, and this is probably the best place to start if you are interested in modding. Now, I've tried to use this myself, and it isn't great. Actually, it looks better than last time I did use it. There is just a huge amount of information you need to learn. So, I recommend you check out this guide, be prepared to learn another language, and you should also look at the Dwarf Fortress modding forum, and here is a great place to first of all find mods which people have already made or are working on, and also to ask questions. People will be very helpful here. So if you're interested in modding, that is the best place to start. Okay, now we're going to go back to the folders, And so we're going to leave modding alone for the moment. We're not modding today. I haven't had enough gin and tonic for that. What we're going to look at next is the data folder. Now there are 3 folders here which are important. The first one is the art folder. So here we can see the tile sets. When we ran the game in the last episode, we saw that it gave a display pretty much like this when we ran it. And this is because the game uses these 16 by 16, so 256 tile sets, which is like extended ASCII, to generate everything in the game. So to display everything in the game. So all the text, all the creatures, all the landscape comes from these tiles. And there are, with the game, 3 different tile sets. So the one which was enabled by default was the 640 by 300. However, you might prefer a square tile set, because then the ground will be all rendered squarely, and all the buildings and the rooms will look as they should do. With the rectangular set, they will look a bit squished up, but the text is easier to read. So maybe we want to use the square set. So let's copy this file name, including the extension .png, and we'll go back to the data directory, go into init, and go to init.txt. And in this file, we're going to be able to change some of the general features of the game, mostly their UI features. Some of them are gameplay features, but not so important. Now we want to change the tile set, so here we have the windowed mode tile set. So what we'll do is we will overwrite the 640 by 30 file name with the square file name. And we will also overwrite the full screen file name with the square file name. So if we're in windowed mode or if we're in the full screen mode, then it's going to use the same tile set. Okay, we save the file. Okay, we'll close that. And we'll launch the game. Okay, and there you can see we've got this beautiful rectangular screen with this blocky square text. Okay, now it doesn't look so good now, but there are other tile sets you can get which would make this look better. So let's go back here and we'll say Dwarf Fortress Wiki tile sets. And the tile set repository on the wiki has a whole bunch of tile sets. Square tile sets, non-square tile sets. And to use these files, all we need to do is to save the file into our Dwarf Fortress art directory. So for example, this tile set here, the alloy tile set, this looks a lot neater than the default one. So what we'll do is we will save this file. Okay, I jumped to the Dwarf Fortress folder here just to skip some rather embarrassing folder names I had on my computer. So we go to the data file directory, the art directory, and we'll save the alloy curses file into here. Okay, and we'll exit the game. We go back to data. Okay, we can see the alloy curses file in there. We want to copy the file name, again including the extension. Go back to data, go to init, open up the init.txt file. We'll paste the alloy name over these 2 file names, save the file. I just pressed Ctrl S there. And we'll run Dwarf Fortress again. Oh my. Oh wow. Isn't that a nightmare? Well, I'm sure it has some redeeming features. A lot of tile sets put in solid or semi-transparent backgrounds because when you play the game, that will look like grass or it'll look like dirt on the ground and or walls, and it can look aesthetically nicer. But wow, this is something else. So you can fiddle around with that and choose the tile sets you want to play the game with. Now there is another option. You can use graphical tile sets. So if you go back to the top of the tileset repository page on the wiki, it will tell you that you may be looking for the graphic sets repository. So we click on that. And again, we'll try and use the latest version. And here we have much more complicated works where people have made sprites and made some really fantastic artwork to render the game in. So for example, we click on the Mayday graphics set example here. And this is what the game could look like. And some of the aesthetics of these tile sets is really fantastic, and it really brings the game to life. If you like to go that way, the best way is probably to look for a pre-pack of a set you like. So if we go back to the main forums and we go to the modding forum again, you'll see at the top here that a subset of the modding forum is tilesets and graphics. So you click on that, and here you'll find a lot of the best and most up-to-date tile sets and graphical sets. So for example, the SpaceFox 16x16 graphic and tile set, which was not updated for a long time, you could download with full instructions on how to get it here. So that's how you change the graphics. We're going to go back to the data, go back to the init folder and back to the init.txt. We could change the graphics here, change the tile sets. There are a couple of other features which are pretty important here. You want to scroll down to the TrueType 24. Now this is not such a good feature personally. I want to turn this to no, because I don't want TrueType to turn on when I zoom into a certain amount when playing the game. If you would like to monitor your frames per second, change that to yes. That can be useful if you're running a slow machine. You might want to check your performance there. And otherwise, we're looking pretty good. So we'll save that. And we'll go to the dinit.txt file as well. And here we can change some other features. For example, autosave. I like to have a seasonal autosave, which will save the game at the beginning of every new season. And we will leave all of these features on. Some people like to turn off weather or turn off temperature for performance reasons, but I don't think that's so necessary at the moment. Some people like to turn off invaders if they want to concentrate on just building and construction. They don't want goblins invading them every season. But we're going to leave that on because we want the fun. And there is one more thing I'm looking for here. Lots of tree options. Okay, this is a very popular choice. Many people want to choose yes here to display fluids as numbers indicating depth. So that's going to be a number from 1 to 7, where 7 is the maximum depth and 1 is like a little puddle on the ground. And that can be important because your dwarves will start drowning in, I don't know, some ridiculously low number like 2 or something, because dwarves aren't very good swimmers. So if you want to have the extra information, then turn it on to yes. I don't like it so much because it feels kind of artificial, and you can check the value of the depth of water by other means. So I'm going to leave it to no, but that's your choice. Okay, and we're good there, so we'll save the file again, and we'll exit out of here. Colors. If you want to change the default color scheme, you can by changing these color values here. Again, if you look on the wiki and search for color schemes, you'll find a whole list of color schemes which you can just copy into this file and overwrite those values. There are lots of other options here, but we're not going to look at those now. The final folder we're going to look at today is the save folder. There's nothing there. Don't worry. When you save a file, when you create a world, it's going to automatically create a folder in here called Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, depending on how many worlds you create. When you want to share that file with other players, you want to come here and zip it up and send it to them. Or if you are upgrading your Dwarf Fortress installation, this is where you come to copy your files, back them up, and then move them across to the save folder in the new version of the game. Okay, so we've had a brief look at the file structure of Dwarf Fortress. We've changed a couple of things, and in the next video we're going to run the game at last, and we're going to start playing and making some worlds. I'll see you then.